Hello and welcome back to Where Are All My Friends? This week's episode is with Thaddeus James, who's a creative producer at Race Service. And what he does as a professional is something that I think anyone listening to this podcast would be extremely interested in hearing about. And that's exactly the point of this episode. Thaddeus is a pretty behind-the-scenes quiet dude, but we were talking and he really has a strong purpose in wanting to help other creatives accomplish their dreams and get to where they want to go. So when we were talking about this podcast, we wanted to do the episode very specifically about how to get that next step further in accomplishing your dreams and getting closer to that dream job in a creative career. There's a lot of lessons that he learned in his story that I think will be helpful for anyone, anywhere in your career and where you're at, as long as you're a creative and you're trying to do stuff that you care about and love. Lastly, let us know if this episode is helpful for you. Thad is pretty behind the scenes, but before we started recording, he said that if this episode helped one person and one person alone, it would be worth it. So to me, it would mean a lot if you share this episode with any of your friends that need to hear it or that would benefit from it, and then shoot him a message and let him know if it helped you, because that would make my day having people hit him up and letting him know that it was in fact a helpful episode. So there it is. Let's get into it. Where are all my friends? Thaddeus James. It's about damn time. This is an episode that I'm really excited about because we've been friends for a minute now.
Mm-hmm.
It's an episode that made a lot of sense to do, but in the same sense, it's kind of an unlikely episode because as much as you are deep in music as a consumer and a fan of music, you have a creative career a little bit outside of music. But we were talking one day at Race Service and we started talking about exactly what your job is and just how cool that is when you really think about it, and how much the skills that you've learned and the lessons you've learned could be extremely helpful for anyone that's trying to get a start in a creative career. So when we started talking about that, my gears started spinning and I was like, we need to do an episode. So I'm very excited to hear your story because there's bits of like your come up story that I don't really know. But then I'm also really excited to dig into some actionable advice that we can give to anybody who's trying to get into like a dope creative job.
100%.
So
let's do it. I'm excited.
Here we are.
To be
it had
here.
to be done. It had to be done. So to start it off very briefly for a listener who doesn't know you, just who you are and what you do.
All right. Thaddeus James. Grew up skating. Grew up mostly in the Bay Area. Currently, I am a creative producer at Race Service. Take a lot of photos, work with a lot of cool clients, a lot of cool people like you guys, and been there for about 3 years now. And it's taken about 3 years still learning how to describe what I do, and what we do.
Anybody at Race Service is
no,
like, what do y'all do here? And it's like,
there's no elevator
really.
pitch yet, but essentially, if you don't know what Race Service is, we're a creative agency and automotive culture hub. We just kind of bring people together through all walks of life within the automotive industry, sometimes outside. Just creative, cool people coming together, doing cool projects, and really just trying to change the game and disrupt the space. So
yeah, and for the listeners, that's how we met.
Yeah,
you were one of the first people I met there. I remember I was looking at Ryan Turk's GT 4586. I was like, this thing's crazy, and you just came over and you're like, yeah, it's pretty cool, huh? This and this and this, and like you just started breaking it down. I was like, this guy's really nice.
Yeah,
and then we just started talking. We both had skateboarded, both knew photography and all that, and like just became friends.
Yeah.
But I'll always remember how welcoming and how excited you were that day. Like you just were genuinely so stoked to be there.
It's every day, dude. Coming in there, it's like hard not to pinch yourself sometimes, you know.
For sure.
Just the sheer amount of cool cars and people. But yeah, I remember that day. That was a good day.
Yeah, it's so cool. And like, again, like I think this podcast will come up and like we'll talk about Race Service a lot because it is a big part of your story. It's how we met. I kind of feel like I'm the new kid there with a little bit of what I'm doing with them. But I really do want to focus on you and your story because, again, as much as that's kind of on the automotive side, I really think that any listener in this podcast will gain so much from understanding your story and understanding the risks you took and the way that you kind of navigated your career early out of school and like how you got to where you're at, because this is like kind of the dream job you wanted to get, right?
100%.
Yeah.
I think that's a big reason why I agreed to do this. I'm not usually the one in front of the camera, usually behind it. But what drives me is like aspiring to inspire people. I mean, coming up, there were so many people that inspired me, even every day. But it's like what you can learn from those people, and it's an honor to like be able to like kind of just share a little bit about myself and like how I got to where I'm at, because I know there's people all the time hitting me up like, how did you get a job there? How do you do what you do? Like, you have the coolest job in the world. What do you do? Like,
Right.
so it's exciting for me to like kind of share a little bit about that. And, maybe there's someone out there, that does want to do what we do. And like, hopefully we can kind of help guide you in the right direction.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like I remember finding podcasts, and you can do YouTube searches and you can find articles and all that, and it's very helpful. But there's something to just hearing like an honest conversation with someone, hearing their come up story and their thought process every step of the way, that can be really helpful in getting to your next step. Just hearing somebody else's experience, I guess. So to paint the Thad picture before we got to the RS days, what was your life? Where did you grow up? Where are you finding interests? Like, where did you first pick up a camera? Like, paint that picture real quick.
All right. It all begins Colorado. That's where I was born, near Breckenridge. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I thought it was Bay Area.
Okay, so a little bit about me. Growing up, I went to 12 different schools. I was born in Colorado, lived there till I was about 5, moved to LA, lived there for 3 years, and then moved to Vancouver in Canada, lived there for about 3 years, and then moved down to Los Gatos, which is kind of by Santa Cruz, if you know where that is.
Yeah.
And then from there, I moved, like within moving around in those places, but then moved up to the Bay Area, grew up in Marin County. It's where I went to high school. And that's home to me. That's where I lived the longest. And then from there, when I was 18, moved down here to Los Angeles to pursue my dreams. But that was kind of I grew up, constantly making new friends. And I kind of had to keep myself busy a lot growing up. So naturally, skateboarding was something that I attached myself to. That's something you can just go out and skate a curb and have fun for a few hours. And
yeah. Dude, that like, as you're saying all of that, so much in my head is clicking where I'm just like, damn, like no wonder you're so good at like being social and talking to anyone, because you had to out of moving around a ton.
Growing up, it was like me and my little sister were like best friends, because, we just moved like pretty much every year. Like I moved to these different cities, but within those cities, we'd always be like moving around. So we'd have to switch schools, this and that, which I hated at the time, but looking back now, I'm like, oh, I'm so glad like all these cool experiences I got to have.
I was literally going to ask you that. Like at the time, it probably sucked.
Oh yeah.
But it probably taught you so many social skills and like adaptation skills that 100%. You didn't even realize.
Yeah.
Damn.
So that was that. I mean, and then to answer your second question about when did I pick up a camera, I think 9 years old. I was really into Star Wars as a kid. And, obviously my dad was in the creative industry growing up. So, and we were both into film. So I always liked films and stuff like that. But I started a YouTube channel making stop motions with my Star Wars figures.
That's why when you saw my tattooing poster, you're like, oh shit, sick print. It's all clicking now.
Yeah, I'm low-key a Star Wars nerd. That's the first time I picked up a camera, and it was doing stop motion films, just with my toys as a kid. Wow. I used to do the voiceovers. I made the sound effects and
like Windows Movie Maker type.
I started with Windows Movie Maker.
Yeah.
Then I got into Final Cut Pro 7. Yeah. So that was how I learned how to edit and kind of shoot and tell stories. And then I grew out of that when I got into middle school and really got into skateboarding. But I still had a camera, it was like filming friends and stuff. So just kind of always had a camera, but I never ever thought I would get into photography. It never really excited me as a kid. Even in high school, like I had friends that took photography classes, and I'm like, I don't know. Like I was doing design and graphic design and stuff. I wanted to be an industrial designer, so having a camera never really excited me.
Yeah.
Until I left high school, and I don't know what it was, but I was like, I see photos like all the time wherever I go around. I'm like, oh, that'd be a cool photo, or and so it was just kind of natural for me to like want to get into it.
Interesting. And then at what age does skateboarding come into the picture? Because you're still such an avid skateboarder.
Since I was 4, I was skating on and off. So like when I moved to Canada, I really got into mountain biking. I mean, it was raining all the time and mountain biking was so huge in Vancouver. was always into dirt bikes. Like it just kind of jumped around. But I really got into skateboarding in high school just because there was a park down the street from my house and all my friends skated. So we just every day after school would go to Stefano's Pizza, get a slice, and then go down to the park.
Like that feeling of just like that routine of like school and you have that spot and you just go
Dude,
skate.
it was the
Like,
best.
take me back.
It was the best, dude. And like growing up in Marin, it's a pretty wealthy county, and all the kids there always had like money from their parents to get a slice. I'll never forget the boy Francisco. But every time we'd go to Stefano's, it'd be like, "Oh, my guy, like I don't have any money for a slice, but could you hook it up?" And he'd be like, "Yeah, I got you." So it was the best, dude. The
Wow,
best
shout
days.
out.
Yeah, shout out Francisco.
Holy
Free slices
shit.
at Stefano's, dude.
Damn. Okay, so cameras and skateboarding is something that you've been around for a long time.
It's been a constant, yeah.
But more again, like you were just having fun with it, thought you'd be an industrial designer.
Mm-hmm.
And then you graduate high school in what city again?
I went to Redwood High School in Corte Madera, which is Marin County.
Yep.
It's like 15 minutes north of the Golden Gate Bridge.
Okay.
Graduated in 2015. Then I went to school, College of Marin for a couple years. And that's actually when I bought my first camera. It was a T5, Canon T5. I had a T3i that I used to shoot with, but it was like my friend's camera that he didn't know what to do with it and loaned it to me. So we'd shoot skate videos. But when I bought my own camera, it was a T5. I had a kit lens, and we'd go on hikes and I would just shoot stuff. Like I was really into street photography. Like it was that walking around the street, seeing photos that really got me into photography.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I got the T5 and then just was hooked instantly. Got a nifty 50 millimeter 1.8, and that's what really changed the game for me.
Game over.
Oh,
Depth
yeah.
of field.
Yeah.
What?
What is this?
What?
My photos have depth and bokeh. Oh,
Yeah.
I guess to go with skateboarding and cameras, that's about the same time that cars were introduced into my life. Another big part. I got my license, I think, when I was 17. I got my mom's Subaru Impreza, and used to rip that thing.
Blew up an engine or two.
Yeah. I told her it wasn't my fault, but that she knew it was my fault. Yeah. So I got into cars, and then I was like, well, cars, cameras, like these are kind of my two passions right now. Skateboarding was cool, but I was never gonna like pursue to be a professional skateboarder. And
Which is so crazy to me because I watch you skate now and you can do like tray flips on command. And, like, you're good. So it's funny. Like,
I mean, I'm decent, but like, have you seen kids skate these days?
Yes.
It's insane.
Yes. It's just weird that you're one of the best skateboarders that I know right now that does it for fun.
Yeah.
And you still had that awareness where you're like, I'm not going pro.
Yeah. And just like the hustle of it. I mean, I skate to have fun. So at the end of the day, I'll just keep it that way.
But so you're picking up cars, photography.
So cars and cameras. I also got Instagram for the first time when I got my first phone like senior year of high school. I was off. I mean, my first iPhone.
Yeah.
Like I didn't really care about it, but eventually I gave in. And then I was introduced to like Instagram and seeing these people make money like traveling the world shooting cars, and like I wanted to be an industrial designer, but that was always kind of like something that I thought was cool. I looked up to people like Larry Chen and stuff and was like, well, this is cool. Like they're going to all these cool places and shooting all these cool races and like getting really cool stuff. I'm like, oh, this is rad. And then I kind of wanted to like see what I could do even as like a side hustle. So after the second motor I blew in my Subaru, once it got fixed, I sold the Subaru and spent half the money I made on an E36. That's how I got introduced to an E36. I'm like, this is a cheap, fun car. I really like how they look. And then I spent the other half on a Canon 6D. Like I just spent all the money I sold it on a car and a camera.
Yep.
Funny enough.
Though.
Yeah, solid. Honestly, well, yeah, when you're 18, like
really good investments that if you think about it have really held up in value. You can still turn a 60 100%. And an E36 has gone up in value.
That 6D lasted me like 5 years and paid for itself like 3 times over.
Yeah.
So the E36, that's a different story. That's a money pit.
Yeah, maybe money pit.
But I still got it.
Yeah.
So I got the 6D and just wanted to like I had no idea what I was really doing. I was just out in the streets of San Francisco by myself, like headphones in, walking around, taking photos. I used to work as a server at a restaurant, and like across the street there was a Barnes and Noble. Like every day I was in Barnes and Noble, like before work or after work, just reading photography magazines.
Really?
car magazines. Like that's kind of how I learned photography, was
Yeah.
just, oh, what settings do I use? Oh, like what is the shutter like, I learned how to expose an image through like reading magazines at Barnes and
No,
Nobles.
like not even like Googling it, but like
No,
straight
I
up
mean,
like
I'd Google
reading.
it, but like what I remember is like from Canon photo magazines and all that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Um,
because it was different. Like it was like, yeah, information was totally on the internet, but it was also like it almost felt like you were getting better information if you found like the specific publication
mhm.
and there was like
Yeah,
more
it
depth
was
to
something
it.
to do before work, and like I don't know, it was cool. I liked looking at the images, and there's something about print that like you can't, even looking at the car magazines, like sure you can look at car photos online, but when you're flipping through a magazine, like you're so much more connected to the imagery that you're seeing. I would just study the crap out of it, like how they compose this, how did they light this, or like the way they'd frame the car within the scene. Like I was like a sponge, just soaking it
Yes.
all up.
Yeah.
So
That's like an early sign. Like you're saying that, and I'm just like, oh shit, like that's the beginning. Like that's when your
100%.
hobby or like when that thing that you're interested in, when you're looking at it differently than other people.
Hmm.
When one friend would see a magazine page and be like, car looks sick. And you're just like, why does it look sick? How is it framed? How did they
Exactly.
light that? How did they position the wheels? And again, that doesn't have to be cars. It could be anything. It's like somebody getting into music. It's like, this song sounds great. What sample did they like? What
Hmm.
tones did they use here? Like any type of like video, photo, like it's when you start analyzing it in that next level that you're like, oh yeah, they're onto something.
It's when you're like so consumed and passionate about something that you like reverse engineer the crap out of it so that
Yes.
you like really understand it, because like you just want to soak everything up.
Yeah.
So that was
Yeah.
like how it started for me. And then there was Cars and Coffee San Francisco. It was like a super sick car meet on Treasure Island. And there's a Facebook group page back when, Facebook was kind of a thing.
Yeah.
What really kicked it off for me was I just made a post in the group. I was like, hey, I'll do free photo shoots for anyone that hits me up for sunrise before the car event. And I got like 4 people to hit me up. Drove there at like 4 in the morning and just did these free photo shoots. It was the most epic sunrise. Like we went to the Alameda shipping docks. There was like all these Navy ships, and like the ground was all wet. So you got cool reflections of like the sunrise and stuff. And I got some of the like, at the time, like best car images ever. And I was just like instantly hooked, made these connections with these guys. And then like they'd come back for paid photo shoots and stuff. And I'd meet people through them. And that's really what like kicked it all off. Was I bought the 60, I had my 50 1.8.
Yeah.
I just wanted to shoot some cool cars and made a post in
Yeah.
Facebook, like free photo shoots. I don't care. Like I just genuinely loved it and like wanted to do
Yeah.
it. So then I was hooked. Was still trying to go to school for industrial design, but I kind of felt inside that I was like, this is what I want to do.
You could start to feel, you're like,
Yeah.
shit, I'm kind of onto something here.
Yeah, I
And
was
you could
like,
feel that
I
that
f-
spark.
I feel like this is more me than
Yeah.
like, drawing and designing. As much as I love industrial design and just design in general and all that, it's just like I was like, oh, this is, my brain works well with like,
Yes.
with imagery. So
Yes.
yeah.
But that's the beginning. You painted that well. So then fast forward me to the start of getting involved with race service, because that's important for your story and
Mhm.
like what that's become. And then we'll like start reverse engineering and like answering some questions in that.
Okay. Well, I think it starts with my move down to LA. There wasn't a whole lot in that industry up north in the Bay Area of like stuff I want to do. Everybody I looked up to was down in LA. So I kind of just I sold my 836 to my buddy after it got keyed actually by my neighbors who hated the loud exhaust. So I took the insurance money from that and then sold it to my buddy for super cheap and just used my savings to move me down to LA. I moved to Pasadena to go to school at Art Center for Industrial Design,
Oh
but
shit.
also simultaneously to just be around more cars and people and cool places to shoot and cool people to meet and stuff like that. So just sent it down here. I lived with like 5 people in a 2-bedroom apartment for 3 months. Like my bed was like up against a kitchen counter. I
Oh
just
my
fully sent it.
God.
Like I was like, whatever. I'm
How
just gonna
much
go.
how much money did you have? I think that's an important question.
How much money did I have?
Yeah, like
Oof.
what did you do this move on? How much hopes and dreams were we talking?
Like $3,000. Yeah.
Holy
It was great though.
shit.
My spot was like $500. There was a couple there's 2 bedrooms. One of them was occupied by a couple. The other was occupied by a student at Art Center. And then me and my buddy Jordan from high school split the living room. And it was an experience, dude. I won't ever forget it. Honestly, I was just happy to be there.
Yeah.
And like would do anything I could to get there. And the restaurant I worked at in the Bay had another location down there, so I was able to transfer, and so I had a good job. Just anything to get out there. I wanted to.
Yeah.
And so from there, I just kind of kept building my portfolio with on the side out of work and school. I was going to Santa Monica College and was just meeting people at car meets and hitting people up, and then somehow found my way into like music and fashion, and then kind of forgot about cars for a little bit. But it was just the photography stuff that drove me. Like I was like, okay, cars are cool, but like, wow, actually shooting people and like events and stuff like that is fun too. So I think that really kind of helped round everything out. But yeah, I don't really know where I'm going with this other than
No.
I just sent it out here. So I guess the lesson there is like, if you dare to dream, just go for it. Like just see where it takes you.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, that's exactly what I did. I just was like, all right, well, I can keep doing this, or I could do what I want to do. And I had a feeling inside that I was down here.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just gonna go.
All right. So you're up in the Bay Area, you're finished high school, bit of college, but then you send it to LA.
Mm-hmm. Sent it to LA with, a couple grand and a dream. Moved to Pasadena with my buddy Jordan, with goals to go to Art Center for industrial design, and to just meet people in the car industry and stuff like that. From there, just kind of kept building my portfolio and kept chasing the dream that I wanted, which as I was building my portfolio, I was just, learning about studios or agencies and places that I wanted to work at. So I had this list of 20 places that I wanted to work at, that I would like to work at.
Yeah.
So one day I just heads down in the library at SMC, applied to every single place with a personal email per place, and a link to my portfolio. But one place really stood out. That was the one place that actually hit me back within about 10 minutes. James Kirkham hit me back 10 minutes, told me, hey,
shout out,
why don't you come by the shop today? And I was super excited. So I guess for the audience, Race Service is...
Yeah, let's like proper paint this right now.
So Race Service is who hit me up.
Right.
Or hit me back.
Yes. It was different at the time.
It was.
It was a very promising, cool thing, but it was not nearly as defined and evolved.
I knew who was involved. Like I did my research. Ryan Turk, Chris Forsberg, James Kirkham, Jacob, like all the guys.
And for any of the music listeners that don't know car scene as well, really, really well respected, very good at their job people that have done really dope shit for the automotive industry. People
that I looked up to and wanted to work with. So that was the anomaly to me because it was close to my house. It was a cool space. They were like in the middle of building it, and I was like very interested. It was the one place on that list of 20 that I wanted to really work at.
So getting that email back, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, it was within 10 minutes. I was like, that's insane. I was like, all right, cool. I'd stop by that day. So, but yeah, going back to it, Race Service is a creative agency at its core, but also at its core, it's an automotive culture hub. We got people from all walks in the industry, just working on cool projects. We have a really badass list of clientele.
Yeah, like
Hot Wheels, Snap-on, F1, Aston Martin. Like the list goes on, and everyone there just works so hard to create great work. And
like I'll jump in here. So like, again, explaining it, the reason why I want to explain this is it's essentially just like whatever your creative field is. Like for us car nerds, it's like the Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. Like it's the people that are setting the bar, right? Like it's like you walk in and it's beautiful. It's designed by Nico or Ornamental Conifer, who's like a very respected artist in the space and even outside of the space. and everything has intention and detail. And it's just so, you can tell people that are there care. And I think that all of us in our creative journey have seen that spot or those people or those groups. And that's what's so important about explaining race service. For the people that know that are listening, they're like, yeah, probably that's about, yeah. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's really cool. But for anybody who doesn't know, I think the thing to explain is just that like Thad found his place. Like you found that bar and that like kind of dream of like, oh shit, this are my people, the fact that they hit you back. And then you evolved with it. Like you were saying, like you started by building walls and like doing like whatever work. Like it wasn't just like, hey, you have to be good at photos. It was like, you have to be good at doing work. You have to be good at like just building something with a team and getting along with these people, and very startup vibes.
Oh, 100%.
The way that people talk about like in business, like startups, where it's like nobody really has a title. Like you just do what needs to get done.
Yeah. I mean, titles are titles, you know, but like everybody there wears so many hats. And if you can hustle hard and you've got a good attitude and, you know, you're kind and passionate, then, you know, you're welcome anytime.
Yeah.
And especially for a role there. I think that's what makes our team so awesome, is that everybody there shares the same qualities of,
you just feel it. Like you can't fake that.
When you walk into that space, it's a vibe.
Yes.
Like, you get it. It's one of a kind.
Yes.
It's a vibe.
The reason I wanted to explain that is like at a pretty young age, you really in a lot of ways got like your dream job, but it didn't start as a dream job. It started as you being like, yeah, cool, I'll build walls and do shit as an internship, whatever. And then the company grew and you grew as well.
100%.
And now you have this title that's creative director, and like, there's, I mean, everybody there does crazy cool stuff, but because the company has grown and because they believed in you, you've now been able to do really cool stuff in your career and take on a pretty high role in doing it. Like you're directing some of the pieces, and like, recently you and I worked on something that you directed, and like,
which is so new for me, but was like so awesome and such a learning experience. But yeah, growing with the company has been huge. I mean, it's been a dream job since the beginning, even when I was building walls, but like I always wanted to grow quick too. Jacob always said to me, he's like, there's no role for a photographer here. Like, you know, so I really kind of was quick to adapt. And one day, like they needed help on a video edit. I'm like, oh, I know how to edit video. They're like, what? I was like, yeah, you know, from my stop motion days.
Oh my God.
And then another day they needed graphic help. And I'm like, I know how to do Illustrator, from wanted to be an industrial designer and doing computer graphics. So I understood Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere, like everything Adobe. I was Adobe certified from.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, from school?
From school.
Whoa.
In design, like I understand Adobe products. It was just kind of, I was just kind of grew into this jack of all trades role. And the next big thing for me was learning how to deal with clients and be social and represent the brand and communicate ideas and connect with people on a professional level.
Yeah.
And I kind of learned that at a young age, and so I've been able to like help produce some really cool projects and work with clients on, you know, bringing these ideas to life. So that was like the biggest thing for me into like solidifying my role with this company was not just photography and like, you know, having a good eye and understanding how to tell a story visually, but like being able to like just do all the things, you know,
it was just a crash course in like a creative career.
I dropped out of school because I was basically getting so much more out of working here than I was at school. It didn't feel like the wrong move to drop out of school. I was like, okay, I want to spend like every minute here soaking up everything, learning from all these great people, and it just worked out. So yeah.
Okay, so I think that paints it well. And now here you are, the company has evolved, you've evolved, and it just keeps growing, and you keep doing more and taking on more. And as the company grows, the opportunities get cooler. So all of that is to say and to lead up to like really what we wanted to do in this podcast is reverse engineer some of these steps and some of what you've learned to share this with anyone else that wants to have a career in any type of creative space. Because now I think that you've learned so many lessons and you've leveled up so much as a creator in learning how to like get your product to a professional level where you can have something that's worth very real dollars.
Mm-hmm.
But then also how like working with people and understanding like that ecosystem and the corporate side of all
business
of
side.
it. Exactly. Because I think what's happening right now is more than ever, anyone can pick up a camera, photo, video, editing, all of that. And it's so saturated that you have a lot of good work that gets unnoticed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that's where I really wanted to get into it with you. Like anyone here at these pivotal moments of their life or their career, how to take that and like really get somewhere with it. So there's a couple things I heard, and maybe I'll start and you can build on it.
Okay.
I think a huge thing that you said in the beginning was your pivot to LA, where like what, you had a couple grand and you just fucking went for it off of that. That's really scary. That to me from the outside feels like a risk that you needed to take. Did you know that at the time? Do you think that is something that everybody is going to have to do if they're going for this?
Oh, I 100% knew it, but it wasn't like it wasn't scary for me. I knew that I would succeed in what I wanted to do just because of my sheer like determination to do so. Okay. And so I actually really enjoyed for like a few months, really enjoyed just like bumming it at this spot to save money and all that. But like, I just soaked it up. I'm like, I'll never be at this point in my life ever again.
Yeah.
So I know where I'm going. Like visualization is so huge to me. Like I could visualize where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do. And I just saw it as a real thing.
Yeah.
And so at that moment, it was like, I just enjoyed it. I enjoyed the process of it. And I think that's what anyone else who really has to send it like I did, to really jump out of the world you're in into the world you want to be in, is like, just understand that it's a process and you're just at a part of that process. Visualize where you want to be and take the necessary steps to get there. And I feel like you got to just kind of figure that out on your own.
I like that. And I love my favorite part of what you said there is like, you knew it was a risk you had to take, but you really kind of loved it and you didn't question it. Like you knew that you were going to do it. So you just went for it.
I can wholeheartedly say there was like not one day where I questioned like, what am I doing? I mean, pretty much I was just like, I know I'm going to do what I want to do. It's just a matter of getting there.
That's fucking great.
Yeah.
Another piece that you said that stood out to me is you wrote a list of 20 names.
Yeah.
I think that's something that is really easy to do right now with Instagram and the internet and everything, is see other people's success and be like, I want that because it looks sick. But do you really like specifying exactly what you want? Because like it's everybody can have success and success looks dope. Cool. You bought your cool house, you got your cool car, whatever. But like, what do you actually want? You very specifically wanted to work in this automotive space. And you very specifically kind of focused your craft and got good at this automotive photography. Not to say you didn't have other skills, but you kind of zeroed in on that.
Yeah. I mean, not all 20 were automotive related. Like some were just like photo. But still.
Yeah. Where I really like that, where like when you then go and write these letters and get in front of people, you know what you're asking for. You know what you're trying to do. You know the value you're going to bring. And it's very specific. It's not just put me on.
Yeah.
So that's something I heard in your story. I was like, interesting.
It's true. And I think that kind of goes back to something I really believe strongly in, which is like visualization and manifestation. And, I used to make mood boards of, before I moved to LA, of like what my life in LA would be like. I pictured myself reading books at a coffee shop when it's raining. So I like on my mood board, I'd have like a the coffee shop by where I moved to in Pasadena on a rainy day, like weird stuff like that. But like, I purely just pictured myself in this world that I wanted to jump into.
Yeah.
And, I pictured myself doing what I'm doing today. And I was like, I told you the other day, like I had a weird moment where I was hanging out at Larry Chen's house, working with him. And I just had an epic trip with him in the Faroe Islands and all this stuff. When I used to sit in my room, like scrolling through his feed, I'm like, oh, this is cool. I want to do this. And it's like, that was a weird moment where I'm like, whoa, okay, I'm doing this. Like I really saw myself doing what I'm doing right now. And I think anybody can do that.
Yes.
It's really just about believing in yourself 100%, I mean, sure, you can have your moments of doubt, but you got to push that away because it's all about just sending it.
Yes, I agree. But to take that and make it a little less cliche, what I'm hearing about you from the outside is like you really defined what you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Like you made these mood boards, you looked at these things, you'd scroll through this specific person's feed and look at these specific images. You started to catalog, like even back to your days of like reading magazines, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you got really specific with the things that inspired you. And I think that to me at least is an important thing to differentiate there.
It's a good point. I never really thought about that.
That's
like
what
how
I'm
specific
hearing.
I got.
But and like I see it to this day. I'll
Yeah.
sit down and I'll watch you edit a photo and you'll be like, I saw this thing, the way the light hit this, and I'm trying to get it. And you'll
Yeah.
edit in a way for like that. And I think that like lesson applies to any creative is like find the things that inspire you and like master those things and be clear of like what you are interested in.
Mhm.
Because I think a lot of people will help people if you tell them what you want or if you clearly define what you're going for.
Yeah.
And that's what I see in you from afar. I'm like,
It's a good point.
So then my question, so we talked a lot about believing in yourself
Mhm.
and defining those goals and having those goals. And you wrote your list of places you wanted to work down. And I like all of that, but I want to get even grittier with like the tangible skills to
Mm.
getting good. So right now, like you said something like where Jacob's like, there's not a job for you as a photographer here. That's an interesting point of conversation because I think now people do kind of have to be these like jack of all trades. So like very specifically in 2021, what programs does a creator need to have on lock to get
Programs?
like, or like what skills, like
Oh, okay.
what do you need to have on lock to be considered in your opinion?
I mean, these days, I mean, you gotta understand social if you want to, really put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Which is something I'm still learning.
Yeah. Well, like,
I mean, I guess it depends on what kind of creator you want to be.
maybe I set you up for a tricky one.
For me,
yeah,
I like to know all the Adobe products minus After Effects.
Okay.
That one, I mean, you do you.
That's sorcery over
That's
there?
sorcery. Yeah.
yeah. Well, just like I guess like the thing that I was getting at in my head as I was thinking about that is I was like, damn, I think that a lot of people learn Lightroom and Photoshop
Mhm.
and get good at photos.
Yep.
But I think not as many people learn video editing and
Yeah.
Illustrator. And I think that I've seen more and more, at least in 2021, like you kind of got to know those.
Yeah, I agree. Even other people I meet in the industry, they know how to animate titles and they know how to edit video and they
Yeah.
know how to shoot the video.
Yeah.
Like that's 3 skills right there that's wrapped up into one role.
Yeah.
For me it's and other people at Race Service, we understand multiple languages like Illustrator,
Yeah.
Photoshop, Premiere, DaVinci, whatever like program you use, but like it's different skill sets that all kind of benefit the same, like agency approach, I guess. I don't know. It's tough for me to talk about it because I feel like I'm still finding the balance between like, it's that age old thing, like jack of all trades, master of none. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I find so much more value in understanding multiple roles than focusing on one specific thing.
Right.
I feel like eventually it'll be nice to really master one thing.
Yeah.
But like being young and wanting to learn so much, I enjoy like really kind of trying to do everything. And I feel like that's kind of not a trend, but like where things are at nowadays is like you need to be able to wear different hats on any day.
Yeah.
You know?
I that topic actually gets talked about quite a lot on this podcast because I feel like I kind of have that creative ADD and I've like gone down this and learned this and little dabble in this and that and this. And I do think it's important.
Yeah.
But then I really admire some of the people that have just become the master of this, right?
Me too, man.
Yeah.
But it's weird because then I also admire the people that can put on any hat and do good at it. So
yeah,
that's something I'm still figuring out and don't have a good answer for.
Yeah, that's
personally.
interesting because I think that like it's that like foot in the door. It's like if you're gonna get the attention and someone's gonna give you a chance, you kind of got to be able to like build a wall or edit a video or edit a photo or take a photo or hold a camera
and sweep the shop, man. You got to do it all. But I think it's about how much. I guess at the end of the day, it's how much value you can bring.
Yeah, that's interesting. That is a really interesting one because again, There's value in both.
But I guess it's where you can bring the most
Right. Yeah.
at that point in
Because I
time.
don't think you should learn things you don't care about, right? Like
Oh,
if you
100%.
force yourself to learn a program and you're like doing it just because you want to be like well-rounded, I don't know. So like you have to gravitate towards the things you're interested in.
True.
I don't know.
For me, I'm kind of interested in all of it, so that's also a problem because if I was just doing one thing, I'd probably get kind of, unmotivated, uninspired, or a little bored.
Yeah.
But
What excites you the most right now?
honestly, I think it's just like those creative meetings we have where we're like pitching to a new client and coming up with ideas and like really seeing that idea through.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I always love delivering like a fire photo set. It's so fun. And so it's between those two for me is like just the whole creative ideation behind a lot of the projects that we have. And then the whole process of seeing it through and like, finding locations, building the team together, who's available, who can we bring together on this because we're balancing so many other things. And like
Yeah.
the producer aspect is exciting to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And directing and coming up with ideas is like it's new for me and it's it's a fun ride.
I like that.
Yeah.
So, did we cover how to get a foot in the door well enough? Because I think that's
don't know.
something that like I really did want to lean into.
Mhm.
I also kind of want to get into like unexpected challenges or like more of like once you're in the door, like the things that you constant learning, constant improvement,
Mhm.
constantly because that never goes away. But I really just like it's so rare that I get to have someone like yourself, like a creative director who's like really made it happen.
Mhm.
And I just want to pay as much value forward to anyone that's interested in like getting that role.
All right. I kick it off with just start with
Yeah.
what you got. Create what you can and just keep learning on your own. It's the images and like the portfolio that I had coming in is what got me the job.
Ooh.
I did what I could with what I had and like
Ooh.
yeah, I don't
That's
know.
a quote I love. Do what you can with what you have while you're what? Do what you can with what you have where you're at.
Do what you can with what you have where you're at. I like that too.
Yeah.
It's true though. I mean, dare to dream, do your thing.
Yeah.
You know,
We're out here just reading live, laugh, love
yeah.
sayings. That's the teleprompter right there. It's just live, laugh, love.
So
I hate how cliche some of those are.
It's so true though. Like
Yeah,
I don't care how cliche it is. Just if you want to be a photographer, pick up a camera and go shoot. Meet people and just have fun. But like at the end of the day, it's about your body of work and showing what you can do and showing your potential. I think that's what it was like it was my potential.
Yeah.
It wasn't the greatest photos in the world. It's just like I had a unique style and think I just showed that I had potential. I had drive and I had passion. And if you are truly passionate about chasing your dream, just keep at it and do what you can with what you have where you're at. I'm gonna run with that.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. Something else you said there that I was like, ooh, yes, I'm so glad that you said that is defining your style. Because we did talk a little bit about that
briefly.
And that is something that I think is very important.
It's true.
How do you perfect that? How do you do that? And how important is that?
It's important for sure. The photographers and cinematographers and even directors like that really stand out that people know like they have a style, a very unique style. And like for me, it's always been fun kind of dissecting everybody's style and like what makes their stuff so unique. I can see an image of an F1 car and with no name attached to it, and I'm like, oh, I know who shot that.
Really?
Like that's Vladimir Reese or like even Yer, like Ryan Davis.
Okay,
you know,
yeah, that one.
You know, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
you see a photo and you're like, oh, Ryan shot that.
Yeah.
You know, and so how does one develop their own style? Because I know I mean, I don't want to be a hater here, but there's a lot of photographers in the social media world where their shots could be anybody's. That's just
true,
and they're just knocking people's style. So how do you really grow out and do your own?
Yeah.
For me, I think it came very naturally. I think just how I was raised and stuff. I was always like reverse engineering movies and stuff and like mimic like some of the best stuff from like my favorite cinematographers that I look up to, or even just pushing myself to try new things. And then I find new things that I like and I just run with it, like happy accidents. And then that becomes like almost like a a quiver or an arrow in your quiver. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, I did this one time and it turned out sweet. Like I put a water bottle up to my lens and like it created this cool bokeh effect to like frame the subject. And then that's a little secret of like some of my photos is like I'll put stuff in front of the lens to like kind of frame it in a cool composition or
Yeah.
add some color to the mix. And I think developing your style is really building a visual library inside of inspiration
Yeah.
and also trying new things, seeing what works for you and what you like at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's about what you like. I think some of my least favorite photo shoots is stuff where I really had to do a certain style or something. And my favorite ones are always when I just grab a camera and go and like in the moment, like this is what I'm seeing. This is the kind of image I want to create.
Right. Yeah.
It's a tough one to answer, but
No. I like that. And there's a lot that I kind of, as you're saying that, I'm thinking with it. And something else that I'm kind of thinking with in that is like, I won't be able to reference the book or who talked about it, but the idea was don't be consumable for everyone. Don't try
yeah.
to please
Oh,
everyone.
that's great.
Like find that niche thing. And it don't even find your niche audience. Don't be out there looking for your audience, but just like do the shit that you like. Like
Yeah.
if you like a certain color palette or a certain moody feeling of an image or a video or a style, like lean into the stuff that you like and be so okay with the fact that it's not for everyone. Because like if you try to please everyone, you're going to get this mediocre photo of like
Oh
a
yeah.
cute dog and you're like, cool, everybody can take that photo. So like kind of just being like, sweet, this is not going to be for people who like this, this, and this. But the
Mhm.
people, I feel like the people that do like what you're doing will be like, yo.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what that boils down to is just do what you like to do. If you doubt yourself, then that's like the first wrong turn you can make
Mm,
on your path to your goals or your
mm,
dreams is doubting yourself. It's just if you know you want to be somewhere, if you're doubting yourself, it's a waste of time.
wow.
I had to put that out there.
That's big.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I've never heard you say that before, but I like that
And
quite a
I've never
lot.
heard myself say that, but I've always
Oh
thought
my
it.
goodness.
I've always thought it. That's for
Yeah.
sure. If I ever caught myself even for a second, like doubting myself on anything, it's just, well, I could doubt myself or I could just do it and see what happens. And that actually is another great topic is learning from your failures because sometimes when you do just send it and do it and you mess up royally,
Yeah.
there's a good lesson for to be had there.
Yeah.
So that's been another big part of my journey, and I think everybody's journey, but is learning from failure is huge.
Yeah.
So don't be frightened by it. If you fail, it's like take it as a lesson. Take the approach of like, okay, yeah, I fucked up. Well, what can I learn from this?
Mm-hmm.
How can I do better next time? And sometimes you may be like, oh damn, there's not gonna be a next time. But
Shit.
no, just learn what you can and see everything as a lesson. I really like to consider myself a student of life, and like I think that's why we all vibe at Race Services. We're all students of life. We just every day there's a lesson to be had, and like we just try new things. And if they don't go as planned, like be quick to adapt,
Yeah.
or if it fails, like flat on its face, just take it as a lesson.
Yeah, like that's another thing in you that I'm so intrigued by is like it's not that you don't or have never failed, but you typically don't let that really weigh on you at all. Like it's very much just matter of fact, like, oh, that didn't work. Oh, I fucked that up. Keep going, whatever.
Yeah.
And maybe that's like I liked what you said about like don't lean into that doubt. Like don't let that doubt exist.
Mhm.
On a rough day, how do you get yourself like how do you maintain that attitude in everything you do? Because you've pushed yourself through some pretty uncomfortable situations.
Yeah,
And it
definitely.
sounds like that's been a successful thing that you've done. What brings you back? What levels you out?
To me, I guess it's just if it's not a good day today and you know shit happens, just tomorrow's a new day. Sometimes I'll just if shit really falls flat, I'll mope about it for the day or something. I won't doubt myself, but I'll be upset about it, but I'll think to myself about what happened and really dissect the situation and then be like, okay, well, that's today. Tomorrow's new. a fresh start. So that's my answer to that, I guess.
That's
It's
cool.
like don't let it waste too much of your time, you know?
Yeah.
But another thing too is like always trying your best. I think that's why I don't really let failure get to me, is because I really do try my best in every scenario. If I fail, I'm like, well, there's not much more I could have done. So why beat
Wow.
myself up about it when I genuinely tried my best, and mistakes happen, or shit comes up, or it's showbiz, not everything
That's
goes as
show business,
planned.
baby.
So another lesson is just be your best, strive to be your best, and then if you fail, then you know that there's not much more you could have done to avoid
Right.
it. If you're half-assing it and you fail, well, it's probably on you.
Right. And you can feel that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Not saying every failure of mine has been because I've tried my best. I'm sure that there's been moments where I've half-assed something, but that was the lesson.
Yeah.
Don't half-ass
There
anything.
you go.
Do your best.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. So, I mean, I feel like we've covered a lot of that as far as like being a creative and like how to like a couple of
Mhm.
these things of like defining yourself, not doubting yourself, pressing through all of that. Is there any like, if you were sitting down with me and I'm over here and I'm just like trying to get my foot in the door, like if you were to go back to that version of yourself,
Mhm.
is there anything you would have done differently, or what advice would you give to me like in that like fresh out of school kind of thing?
For me, I don't think there's anything I would have done differently. But advice-wise, I think it's really just shoot your shot and network, like,
Yeah.
connect with people. Like, before I worked at race service, I did a lot of cool, like, random freelance jobs, and it was all from just meeting people. Sometimes it's by chance, sometimes it's, like, cold calling and reaching out.
Yeah.
Um, it's definitely, like, who you know is important.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to do free photo shoots on Facebook. You never know who you'll meet, or
Yeah.
um
I love that. And I think like you can get really crafty with that. I think that's something
mhm.
that I've noticed lately is like you can hear that it sounds kind of cliche, like, oh, reach out, build your network, whatever. But as it gets a little more cluttered, finding like weird ways to get on people's radar.
Yeah.
Like something that I noticed that like it's crazy how much it worked. But I started a Patreon for this podcast.
Mhm.
And there's 4 tiers, and the final tier is $25 a month, and I literally the top line of it is like, "I don't expect anyone to do this." Like, I was like, "Don't do this." But then 2 people did it, and I
Damn.
was like, "What the fuck?" And for me,
Shout out to those 2 people.
fucking huge shout out to them. You know who you are, and it means the world. But, like, the thing about that was then to me, like, they really liked the show, and there was, like, some value that I could bring to them. They were
Mhm.
like, "Oh, you know these people, I'm trying to do this." And then what did I do? I was like, "Yo, let me help you. I'll introduce you. Like, I can't believe you did this thing for me. Let me help you." And
That's so
in all
rad.
reality, that's $25. That's the best $25 you ever spent, right? But like that, like I was thinking about that. And I was like, that's so fucking smart. Like find those things, like in anyone that you want to meet or network with, how can you exceed their expectations? Like there's stuff there.
Mhm.
And that one really got me thinking because it's like not only networking, but then it's like when you find those people, how can you impress them? How can you leave
Oh,
a
yeah.
mark? And I think that that will never go away. You'll always be able to do it, but you just have to get scrappier and scrappier.
True.
I
And
think.
another thing too is a good way to leave your mark is let your work speak for itself.
Fuck, dude, you have these. There's so many values that you have, and you're explaining them, and you're saying it so simply. And I'm just like, so simple.
Yeah.
He just takes like you just like what you do and just keep perfecting it. And I'm like, God, it really is that simple. I'm
Yeah,
over here.
it's simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's simple, but
Yeah.
it's not easy. It gets I don't know, actually, I take that back. I was gonna be like, it gets easier, but actually, like, it's always hard, you
Mm-hmm.
know? But if you genuinely enjoy it, then hard is easy.
Yeah.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense? You know
Yes.
what I
Because
mean?
you're like stoked to show up and you're
Yeah,
stoked at the
exactly.
challenges.
It's
And
not easy work, but when you enjoy it, like, fuck, it's a lot easier than serving tables, that's for sure.
yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
You know what that other side looks
yeah.
like.
But side note, I do appreciate having worked in the service industry for
Yeah.
a while, especially as a teenager and growing up. I feel like that really also helped me.
Like the perspective that it gives you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a side note. Like,
No, I feel
if
that.
if you worked in the service industry, you know.
I think it is massively important to have really shitty jobs before you
Oh,
start doing
100%.
what you love, because then every day that you're not doing that shitty job, even your worst day at doing
Yeah.
what you love, you're like, wow,
This is
is a
great.
great day.
Yeah,
Like,
dude, seriously. Yeah.
wow,
There's no way to truly appreciate having like a job that you love without having a job that you didn't love. You know what I mean?
Totally. Because when you're in it, when you're in the thick of it with your friends and everything sucks, you like look over at your friends and you're like, this sucks. What's up? I'm with my squad.
Yeah,
Whereas
exactly.
you don't just like have some asshole boss yelling at you for something where you're like, I couldn't begin to care ever.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to get too rambly. This was kind of an episode where I wanted to just very open freestyle riff back and forth and just talk about some of these things.
Mm.
Because again, I feel like any conversation that could potentially shed light and help anyone get a job in a career that they're interested in is something that I'm like, cool, I did something
Dude.
that helped. And I think that's kind of what you said when we
Yeah.
started this.
Even if it just gives you the people the motivation to keep going, like if you are feeling like that feeling of doubt and stuff, or like, oh, there's so many other people that do this, like just dig deep and like don't waste your time doubting. See how you can be better than those people, and see how you can, you know, be at the top of your game and stand out from the crowd, and let your work speak for itself. Kind of everything we talked about, just use that as motivation to just keep going. Now I'm at a point where 5 years ago I set my 5-year plan, and I've been fortunate enough to like, you know, pretty much achieve that. You know, my realistic 5-year plan. I still don't have a Porsche or anything like that, but
That shit doesn't matter.
that's unrealistic
like,
dreams, you know.
yeah.
Like, 25, yeah, you know, maybe no. But now it's like I'm at a point where I've actually kind of surpassed my career goals a bit, but now it's like, where do I go? Where do I go from here? So I think that's what's next for me is how can I further grow? And this is a
Yeah.
little bit more where like 5 years ago, coming out of school and stuff, I had the visualization like down, like I had my mood boards, and I really saw where I wanted to be. And now I'm having these moments of like, oh, here I am doing this stuff as I want to be, but like I haven't really maintained that practice of visualization. I've just been so in the thick of it. So now I'm like, oh snap, where am I gonna be in five years? Like when I'm 30.
You kind of just
It's
fucked me up with that.
it's a new realm for me. So like this is now I'm like, oh wow, what am I gonna do? I'm
But don't
kind
you
of
already
just
know the answer? Don't you already know that like the
yeah.
work that you did visualizing these things, like you laid such a great groundwork and defined that so well that all laid out and played out.
Yeah.
So then to me, the answer seems pretty obvious of like, you just need to go back to the drawing board and
I
create
do.
that again and look at what re-inspires you and
Mhm.
do that. What worked for you then, I feel would work for you all over again. You just need to
Just need to sit down and do it.
come back to it.
That's where I'm at. Yeah.
Maybe I'm
Recently,
wrong,
no,
but-
you're right. You're right. You're right. I kind of got into this zone of just go with the flow, like reaching these goals of mine, and I've just been in the flow and I've just been going with it. But now I'm kind of like, okay, what's next? Like,
Yeah.
what am I gonna do? What am I like? How am I gonna keep growing?
Yeah.
Where do I really want to be in 5 years? And so I think it just takes a good amount of you versus not you versus you, but like just personal time, like you with
Yeah.
yourself.
It's like discomfort's such a bitch because
Yeah.
you don't like it, but then you realize when you've avoided it for so long and you've just been cruising,
Mm-hmm.
you're not as quite like fulfilled, or I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like,
I know what you mean.
I think that you grow so much when you do have some pressure.
I
and you're
think
slightly
exactly. There was so much pressure on me to move to LA and to work to have a job that I love. Like that was number one for me, was like, I don't want to hate my job. I want to do something that I love. Like I don't even care how much money I make. Like I want to enjoy what I do every day.
Yeah.
And now I do enjoy what I do with every day. And there was so much pressure, and like that's all I cared about was getting to where I'm at. Now it's like, okay, how do I maintain this? How do I keep growing? How do I become better than I was yesterday? You know, how do I just be the best I can be? And so now it's kind of going back to the drawing board at this point.
I don't think that ever goes away though.
Yeah, maybe not.
I think that like I just don't, right?
Yeah,
like
no,
there's
maybe you're
always
right.
going to be goals. You're always going to be thinking about that stuff. But the fact that you're aware that you have accomplished some of it is what's so great.
It is. And I also think too, like there's nothing wrong with like being in that zone that I've been in recently, which is just going with the flow. Like I do what I got to do, and like I am growing and learning every day, but I'm not under so much of my own pressure to do so. I'm just enjoying it. I'm enjoying the ride, and like I'm taking time for myself when I can to like go skate and, you know, do car stuff. And
dude,
I
really liked this.
Me too.
I really liked this.
This is cool. You really got me to talk.
I mean, I wanted to hear it.
Yeah.
You had a lot. And again, for like a listener, I hope this was helpful. I know like typically with an episode, I'll go a little deeper into like, tell me your full story, this, and this. But I kind of wanted to just get to this conversation of like this open forum. Like, let's talk about a creative career. Let's talk about it. So
it's important. I hope it was helpful, man, because you know, people DM me all the time, or not all the time, but every now and then message me about like, how do you have this job? You have the coolest job in the world, and like, it's so hard for me to just write that all out. It's like there's a lot to it.
Now
man.
you have a podcast link.
Yeah,
now
I'll just send them the link.
Yeah. You're like, first 30 minutes, my story. Second 30 minutes, me trying to explain that question.
I hope it made sense. Like,
I think so. Like, again, some of it sounds cliche, but it's like, fuck, man, if it keeps getting said, there got to be some truth to it. And
I mean, yeah, not everything cliche is wrong, you know.
It's facts.
It seems, you know, it's simple. It's not easy, but like, really, it's just putting your mind to it, and just not expecting success to happen in a day. Like, you know, it's probably a short time for some people, or, you know, a long time for others, but like 4 years just teaching myself, going to Barnes and Nobles, learning, and just going out and just doing it for the love of it, and working for it. So
no, I love
just
that.
don't give up. Don't doubt yourself.
It re-inspires me. I'm 2 years deep in the podcast, and I'm like, I got a couple more years to put into this, but that's okay. Dude. But I love it. How does anybody find you? How do they DM you and ask you how you got your job?
Thaddeus. No, it's Thaddeus. Okay, actually, my name is Thaddeus, but this is a tough one. But my A and my name is a V on Instagram. I know it's real original.
I'll link it in the show notes.
Yeah, THVDDEUS. Used to be Rad Thad. But then I Googled Red Thad, and there was like some guy that was pretty sus.
Oh no!
That came up. I'm like,
fucking up your name.
I was like, I gotta switch my brand up.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Rad Thad, for not being rad.
Yeah, seriously.
You had one job. Rad Thad.
Yeah, I forget the story, but it was inappropriate. So,
and peep his work because it's really cool and inspiring, and I like it a bunch.
Check out Race Service.
Yeah, we both like that a bunch.
I don't even know if we successfully like describe the place.
I don't know.
Just check it out.
The guys will listen. They'll be like, "What did you say?" It's cool. Okay, trust us. It's cool.
It's a cool place.
All right. Well,
cool,
thank
bro.
you so much.
It's been a pleasure.
Boom. So there it is, Thad's story. I really hope you liked that, and I really hope you got value out of it. I hope that we did share some good pieces of advice, actionable steps, or insight that can really actually help you. And if you did get something out of it, or if you know somebody that needs to hear this episode, again, share it with them, send it over to them, and help me make Thad's day by shooting him a message and letting him know that you did get something out of it. That would make me really happy because, again, he doesn't really come on podcasts often, and I very much value his time and his generosity for sharing all this wisdom. All right, there it is. I'll be back next week with another episode. Thank you, as always, for listening. Have a good day.